Maybe they'll finally sign him as an announcer and humiliate Kevin Kelly.
And the two things on WrestleMania, I'll try to keep it quick. You were saying that they were looking to make Austin heel, right? Were they looking to do this at WrestleMania?
That was the plan, and it may still be the plan. But that was definitely the plan. Before all this happened with Rock getting booed. But as far as I know, it's still the plan.
Do you think that's smart though? I mean, especially because it's in Texas, and I mean, you know what I mean? Do you think it'll be the type of heat where they'll turn the fans off more than the fans will want to come back and see somebody get their revenge on Austin? You think it'll be more there?
It's certainly, what you just said is certainly something that has been brought up, at least to me, from people in the company, and it's certainly a concern. I don't know.
I don't think it's like the Hogan turn where it'll revive him, because it's not like he needs to be revived. I mean, this is the type of thing where people are going to want to come back and see Rock get his. I don't think anyway. I think they're just going to be more.
This may be the. But this actually worked in money, and going the 1985 Ric Flair turn against Dusty Rhodes, where it really resulted in a lot of people booing Dusty Rhodes and a lot of people cheering Ric Flair. Nevertheless, those matches drew tremendous business at that time. So, they may be thinking along those lines. I mean, when they turn Austin, I think that many people are going to cheer Steve Austin. How many is that? Whether that hurts at the gate or it freshens up at the gate, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Nobody can predict for sure.
The only way to do that, though, would be to totally have him sell out to Vince. I mean, they can't keep really anything.
That is the idea.
Okay, because they have to strip him of everything as far as the profanity, the beer, I think, because all that stuff is what they like about him, so I don't see them,
but if they strip him of too much, then he's not Steve Austin.
That's what I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I don't see them. I see them cheering Vince more than booing Austin, almost.
That has been suggested too. Okay. Well, if everyone could predict the fans 100%, then everybody would be making a lot of money.
The last thing
it's hard.
Okay, I'm trying to make it quick this way. I don't keep it up. The Triple H Undertaker thing. Now, is Triple H supposed to go over in that match? I mean, it seems that way.
I don't know.
Only because
I would think so.
I would think so too. But lately, it's like the way they're booking it is like he's just been getting the best of Undertaker, and like Undertaker would get his revenge. But
they got one more week though.
That's true, too.
I mean, they've done this before where, the heel just pummels him forever, and then last week Babyface gets a couple things in, and then, they do it. I think that's also one of the reasons, like, we've been getting a ton of emails, people going, how come they've never mentioned that Undertaker is undefeated at WrestleMania? And it's like, well, if they said that, it'd probably give away the finish.
They did bring up that he never beat him. I mean, that was a little hint, I guess.
That Undertaker, that Helmsley's never pinned Undertaker. Yeah. Well, they never really worked a program. I guess when Undertaker was babyface and Helmsley was lower on the card, they wrestled a lot, but not a lot. But I mean, I remember matches. I only remember one match, and that was a match I went to in Oakland, which I think it was like a no contest or a DQ. And it was not a bad match either. This one, Undertaker wasn't having good matches with anyone, and then him and Triple H had a good match.
He'll probably have a decent match with him. I mean, he's smart enough to know what Undertaker can and can't do, and tell a good enough story, I guess. Kind of like
I think he'll have a really good match with him. Yeah. But I don't think it'll be the best match on the show.
I don't know with that card. I don't think so. There's too many other matches that look really good. So.
They're going to have, when we talk about this card.
Yeah.
They're going to have, for this card not to be good, they're going to have, like, everybody have a bad day at the same time. I mean, if you think about it, okay, Rock and Austin are probably going to have a great match. Mm-hmm. Okay, but even if they don't, okay, you still got Angle and Benoit, and I don't know how they won't have a great match at WrestleMania.
I think that would probably be the best match. You got maybe a TLC, that would just be fine.
Well, the one thing with the Angle-Benoit match is the crowd reaction in that, Benoit... they've never really figured out how to get Benoit over as a babyface, although Angle as a heel, will get a reaction.
Do you think that might be a submission match?
Be good. What?
Do you think that might be a submission match, since they kind of...
It might be, yeah.
Because, they might go with that whole Austin Brett thing where, maybe he throws Benoit on the ankle lock and he doesn't tap, but he passes out. Maybe they'll go with that kind of strategy and hope that works.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I think it's been enough years, because that was like WrestleMania 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's probably not that, it wasn't that soon, and I think it might work. I mean, Angle's probably strong enough as a heel to get somebody over that way. I mean, I would assume so anyway.
Yeah.
And lastly, this popped in my head when I mentioned the TLC. Is that going to be a six-man tag, three-way, or are they just going to keep it as the tag? Nine-man tag, yeah.
I've certainly heard speculation. I think Jerry Lynn's at TV Monday, and the speculation could you throw Jerry Lynn in there with the Hardys.
Okay.
So, I guess we'll find out Monday, but, I mean, if not, it would be those other three people interfering freely.
Right.
If they make this, because I think they want it to be a tag team title, so I think that it'll end up being the tag teams, but that those guys will all be getting involved in taking bumps through tables, maybe.
Yeah, well, Spike will be taking the bumps through the tables. I don't know about Rhino.
Yeah. Putting people through the tables. Okay, thanks so much, Chris. Let's go to Sean in that. Oh, Alex is here. Okay, we're gonna go to Alex, and we'll probably keep Alex for a while. Alex, what's the news?
Dave, how are you?
I'm fine.
Brian there?
Yep, I'm here.
You're there too. Hey, stop sending Rick Steiner after me, man. Jesus. Anyway, what's it called? So Linda McMahon held a conference call, and basically the deal is done. They have a binding contract. Everything will be finalized as of next week. I have a whole bunch of things to go over on it. One of the things they said is you can look already on Monday night. They're gonna do something, some sort of angle to
on Raw or Nitro or both.
I believe both. Okay. I'm pretty strong. Apparently the production teams on both sides are talking. So there will be something. My guess would be that Shane shows up on WCW as the new one.
You know what's really weird about this? Because they have that hour that goes head to head.
Right.
Would they go in there and like do simulcast and go like, oh my God, there's Shane in Panama City, and like kind of do like a split feed where both shows are doing the same thing at the same time?
I think that you run a risk there of
I'm
lowering.
Just throwing out an idea.
Well, you lower the ratings for both. I mean, you could split your audience, and I don't
do
think
it for the presidential press conferences.
Well, I don't think Viacom. I don't think Viacom's in the business of helping out Time Warner.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. That's true, even for 1 week. But ultimately, they're only helping themselves because they own they're going to own the property after Monday.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know. That's pretty high up network wise. To make a decision like that where you're showing. You know what I mean? Plus, it may not have a WWF. I would think that the WWF wants to be in full command of what it is that they're doing. So would you figure they would just show Raw on the final hour of Nitro?
Oh, no, I don't mean that. I would just, maybe have, a thing where Shane shows up and they show it on Raw, and they kind of would dilute their audience, but it's only for 1 week anyway. And then at the end of the show, the end of the Nitro show, you kind of do something where, you tell everyone this is to be continued on Raw. Like on TNN next week or something. Because it's not going to be on that station anymore.
Right. Or you do something at 10 that night.
Hmm.
You never know. But, I mean, the production teams are meeting. I'm just going to go over this point by point if that's okay.
Sure.
Basically, they're not going to deal with the purchase price. They're blaming that on AOL. They said they don't want to address that. Contracts of wrestlers is what you guys have reported. They're assuming some contracts and some they are not. They'll have an official rundown of that sometime next week. As far as their advertising contracts, there is no obligation to make good on any of the advertising that TBS and TNT promised for the ratings.
Okay.
So they'll be discussing new advertising ratings.
Yeah, because that would be TBS rated. Yeah, that would be TBS stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not assuming any of that. They're also not assuming any of the lawsuits as well. That is not their problem.
I wouldn't expect that they would, yeah.
Right. Whatchamacallit, apparently Stuart, what is his last name again?
Stuart Snyder.
Yeah, Stuart Snyder. He was, I guess, close friends with Brad Siegel.
Yes.
From their days at Turner, so that's another thing that helps cement the deal. They became re-involved 3 weeks ago with negotiations after it looked like the Fusion thing was going to fall through. They're talking about the, quote, potential opportunity of separate programming on TNN, but there's been no deal done. She was real vague as far as any sort of specifics on how WCW would be presented. She said they're going to expand pay-per-view, but that isn't to say that they're going to expand WCW pay-per-view. I'm not sure how that's exactly going to work. I don't know if they are either, for that matter.
They didn't give any kind of indication as far as a start. After WCW closes on Monday, okay, it will be dark for 6 weeks, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give any kind of indication of the time frame of when we will see them reemerge.
Right, but apparently it's within a few weeks, is what they're
really?
Yeah, they're saying in a few weeks that they hope to have something solidified and to get them back on.
Okay, but it was almost for sure on TNN.
It's got to be, but as we talked about earlier, from what my impression is from the TNN people, they're not all too hot and heavy on assuming another primetime wrestling program on a Wednesday night or even for the long-term future, because they have some other programming things that are coming up for them. They've paid $500 million rather for the rights to Star Trek. They just purchased some, top-rate movies like Top Gun and stuff like that, and they seem to be trying to get away from that southern image of TNN, which does, WCW still has that southern stigma. So I'm not all too sure where they're going to end up on the TNN dial. I think Wednesday, Friday, and late night are still the most viable spots for them.
Yes, what else?
Let's see. Affecting WCW licensing. Apparently, WWF will have to assume some licensing deals that WCW has signed. Others are sort of in a gray area. That's one of the things they're going to be doing next week, as they wind this whole thing up. I asked Linda if there was any thought to shutting down WCW simply because it's just been on such a death track for so long. She said, I quote, "I think you have to put things in perspective. While their ratings have been a fair amount lower than ours, you have to look at cable programming in general. WCW draws a respectable rating. This is a brand that was built over many years. It's something that has great value for us. We do not want to fold it and put it in a drawer." I followed that up by asking her what are some of the things that need to be done there. She said, quote, "I'm certainly going to leave that up to the creative folks at first to get their arms around the storylines and what the driving factors in their weekly episodic drama are going to be. Clearly, we see an interest with WCW using the cross-brand to drive interest."
Cross-brand, that means that